Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start out the conversation by saying what an honor. It is always an honor to sit with people who are going to speak truth about their experience and to speak with people who do this work for a living. Sheila, as an advocate, I know that you dedicate your life to the mission of Sojourner. So I'm honored to be here with Laurel and Carrie and you to have a conversation about resilience. I think the theme of this conversation is we are resilient. So you are, all of us are, but survivors, absolutely. And Sheila, people who do this work, I think myself included, definitely believe in resilience. So that's my intro to the conversation. Thank you all for making time to sit and talk with me. I want to ask you each to introduce yourself, and then we'll jump right into the conversation. If you want to talk about how you're currently connected to Sojourner, we'll start off that way. Carrie, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I would love to. My name is Carrie, and I am a Voices member at Sojourner Family Peace Center. I also receive information monthly about the what's happening at Sojourner Family Peace Center for healing, which can include yoga, meditation, writing, journaling, acupuncture. There's so much. I receive quotes once a week about inspiration, moving forward, embracing your best life.
It's good to know we connect with you on so many different levels.
Yes, yeah.
Gift. Laurel, do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
My name is Laurel, and I got connected to Sojourner back in 2015 and went to a writing workshop that got me connected to writing, and that got me talking about my experiences, and Voices came along, and I'm a member, I'm the co-chair of Voices, and I'm looking forward to doing much more things with Sojourner and Voices.
Thank you so much, Laurel. Sheila, you want to talk a little bit about yourself as an intro?
Hello, everyone. I'm Sheila Robinson, and I've been working for Sojourner since 2017. I started as the Milwaukee Joint Human Trafficking Task Force Coordinator, and now I work at District 4 as their advocate for Sojourner.
Thanks, Sheila. Thank you all for that introduction. Carrie and Laurel, do you want to say a little bit? Laurel, since you're the co-chair, about Voices. I can describe what I think it is, but it'd be great to hear in your words what Voices is.
Voices is a group of survivors like myself who share their stories to help teach the public about what domestic violence is and how we can help stop this.
Thank you. Well, you know, that's exactly what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to ask you both to answer the question, what brought you to Sojourner? And what were some of the first warning signs that you were or had been in a violent relationship, abusive relationship?
A woman had contacted me, and she was from Sojourner Family Peace Center. And I had to meet, I talked to her that night, and it was a very unsettling night, and she used some grounding techniques that at that time it was just such a unsettling situation.
So go ahead.
That I remember looking down at this table that's now in my garage. It was my grandparents' table that my ex-husband had refinished. My grandparents had been married for 65 years, and I had gotten into this marriage thinking, I'm going to be here through thick and thin. I'm going to make it this long. I'm going to do everything they did. And so it was a huge emotional growth process in terms of what does it mean to take care of myself and my daughter versus what does society want from me? What's healthy? Like, what does it mean to remain safe? Because when my ex-husband had pinned me against the wall, and if I turned my neck one way, I couldn't breathe. And if I turned my neck another way, I could breathe. What does it mean to take care of myself and my child? And do I deserve that? And yes, I do. And yes, my daughter does. And
So
it's,
that's a very traumatic experience that you're describing, Carrie. And something you said stood out for me that I have heard from other survivors is that they don't often use the word strangulation, but that in fact is what is happening to them. And that's a very dangerous position to be in. So it sounds like that trauma connected you to us. I'm glad that we could be there for you in that moment and that you stayed connected to us. I want to welcome Constance to the conversation. Another Voices member, I believe. Constance, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yes, I am Constance and I am new to Voices. So this is the first panel that I've been involved in.
Thank you for taking time. I know that you rushed over here to be part of this conversation. Carrie, I want to acknowledge your courage in sharing your story and what happened. And it sounds like in that moment you knew and understood that taking care of yourself, to use your words, meant that you had to get out.
yes, I did. And it meant actually some of the policies that were initiated at the time that were national policies were not being followed through within the community that I lived with. So there were other arrests that should have happened with my ex-husband, but they did not. And so what I ended up doing was I moved away. And there's a lot of controversy over that. But at the time, I thought this is the safest thing for me. And this is the safest thing for my daughter. And it was heartbreaking because I left. I grabbed a whole bunch of, like, I remember at the time, there were drawers that were opened and I just swooped up some clothes. And I didn't know if they were Halloween costumes. I had no idea. And I just thought, I can't keep doing this. And the officers are no longer helping. I did have the support of Sojourner Family Peace Center, and I moved in because I believe at the time some of the women's shelters were kind of crowded, and I was told if you can move in with a family member, this might be more helpful for you long term. So I did move in with my mother after not being at home since 1995, and the year was 2014.
Yeah, I think there's difficult choices that survivors have to make in the moment. And as I said, you're describing, and your experience was very traumatic. I'm sorry that happened. And I think survivors who are listening may see themselves in what you describe. Laurel, would you like to talk a little bit about how you came to Sojourner and when you knew you had to leave the relationship?
Well, actually, my story is a little bit different. I came to Sojourner after my second domestic violence situation. So I had already had my first, I left my first husband when he strangled me. And again, I didn't call it strangulation. I was calling it choking. And then after I left my second husband, after the police had been called to our house, I was feeling very depressed and suicidal, thinking, you know, how did I let myself get into this situation again? You know, how dumb I was, how stupid I was, you know, just really belittling myself.
Right.
And I had seen Sojourner on the news about a different case. And I thought, well, I'm going to call them and get some help. And I, when I walked into Sojourner, immediately I was greeted with love and compassion. I was told that they believed me. I was told that I was somebody and that I was special.
Hmm.
And I felt the love and comfort that I needed at that time. And I haven't looked back at it one single bit. Every single time I go into Sojourner, I feel that love and compassion. And that's what Sojourner is all about.
Thank you so much, Laurel. You know, I'm glad you mentioned the word love. I often say to staff, you know, we give lots of resources. We hold space for people. We help and navigate systems, but the most important thing we do is give people love and dignity and respect. And those are tangible things that you can feel in your life. So I'm so glad that you found that when you walked into our building and in our interactions with you. Constance, do you want to tell the audience how you came to Sojourner and a little bit about your story and when you knew you had to get out?
Mine is a little different.
Mhm.
I wasn't aware that I needed to come until I had switched churches and I had been in conversations with my pastor, and he suggested that I come to Sojourner. I hadn't heard about it. And even when I came, I was still trying to figure out why I was coming.
Mm.
I wasn't sure. And with mine, it was more verbal, emotional, and financial.
Mm.
So I have had difficulties with embracing that still is domestic violence, that I was still being abused. I just didn't realize that I was being manipulated. And I stayed because I was trying to stay for my children. And I didn't want the relationships to end like my grandmother and my mother. So I was trying to hold on to whatever I could. And he ended up leaving the last time. He had left us 3 times, I think it was. And that last time, that was the final time. So for me, the groups really helped me.
Mm.
I didn't realize how broken and how little self-esteem I had. And just thinking like, well, I could never be in a domestic violence relationship. That's not something that I would do, not realizing that that's what it was. And even after it was over, just hearing my kids make the statement that mama and daddy were always arguing and they never got along, hurt when my son told me that. So even if someone asks me, okay, you've been in a domestic violence situation, was it physical?
Mhm.
And then they'll be like, oh, to me, it feels like they're like, oh, well, you really didn't go through anything because you don't have physical wounds that show, not realizing what damage
Mhm.
the other wounds cause.
Actually, Constance, so a couple of really important points you brought up. I'm glad that both you and Laurel started out by saying my story's a little different. What's important is everybody's on their own journey. There isn't one right way to find your way to Sojourner, and leaving isn't the only option. Sometimes people choose to stay and they hold on for the very reasons you talked about, and those are legitimate, good reasons to stay in a relationship, staying for children, staying because you love the person, because you're connected. I've also had women say to me, Constance, it wasn't physical, but it hurt worse. It hurt just as bad. And sometimes I think the verbal and emotional, I've had clients say to me, if you slap me, then I can deal with that. But the words hurt me so bad, I can't figure out how to navigate that. It just hurts more deeply, I think.
Right.
And you absolutely, that is part of the cycle. I've heard women say that by the time I got hit, the verbal abuse had been so prevalent in my life, I believed I deserved it. And as you said, I was so broken. And that's definitely part of the dynamic of what can happen in a violent relationship. So I'm very glad you found your way to Sojourner and that you're with us. And thank you to that pastor,
Yes.
right? Who
Can
opened
I
that.
say something, Carmen?
Yes, ma'am. Jump in.
And I wrote a book about my experiences just recently, and this is in my book. It's that, physical abuse, bruises can go away easily, but when you have that verbal abuse or the psychological abuse, that doesn't go away very easily. That can last a lifetime.
Right.
So
It can. And I think what's important in the work is that we make room for women who have, I had a woman who stopped me in the building in the hallway, and she said, I was never hit. I don't feel like I belong here.
Mhm.
And I said, you do belong. And I said, that just means we have to do a better job of helping you feel welcome, so you can see yourself here in the services that we offer. Sheila, I don't know if you have a response about the discussion so far and what you've seen with the women and men that you've been serving in District 4.
So first and foremost, I want to commend you ladies for even having the courage to tell your story where others could hear. So many people have not done that. Laurel, you said, I felt stupid, I felt dumb, I felt it was my fault. I hear that a lot. And Constance, you said, my story is different. It was more verbal. I hear that also. And Carrie, you're right. No one basically says strangulation until they are explained what strangulation is. They don't know. You're just putting your hands on my neck and I couldn't breathe. So I commend you ladies. Abuse is abuse, and everyone, as Carmen said, has a different story to tell, but it is abuse. And I commend you all for just jumping in there and saying, hey, I got to do something after you heard someone, whether it was through commercial or whether your pastor or the police, you heard someone say, hey, go to this place, seek this place out, and you did that. That's what resilience is. I got to find a better way. Something has to be done. So I commend you ladies. You just don't know how much I hear what you're saying. And I have told the people I work with, male and female, you're not alone. You're not the only one that goes through that. And I hear sighs all the time where they're saying, I thought it was just me. And that really hits my heart because they feel isolated. And at Sojourner, this is where you're not isolated. So I just wanted to commend you ladies for that.
Thank you so much, Sheila. You pointed us in the direction of the next question, which is all about resilience. The title is We Are Resilient. And I'm so glad you gave the definition for you. If I were to ask the three of you, did resilience play a role in how you navigated what was happening and your decisions that you were making? When you think about resilience, what does that mean for you? And how did that show up in your life, both then and now?
So I'm not sure what order to go in, but for me, resilience actually is that I am not a one-person orchestra or band. Resilience actually meant that I, in 2014, was talking to an advocate from Sojourner Family Peace Center. And I thought to myself, I don't belong here. This isn't I mean, why am I here? I mean, I just need to go and get a better job. I just need to be a better wife. I'm a bad mom. I was listening to other people's inner voices and internalizing them. And it took me a number of years to build a rapport with a advocate from Sojourner Family Peace Center. It took me a number of years to actually walk through the front doors. And then I learned about what is domestic violence. I didn't know. It wasn't something I was taught where I grew up. It wasn't something that was verbalized, even within my family. So my resilience has been built up by, I believe, and I people are social creatures. So I just believe that within Sojourner Family Peace Center, I have been offered so much support. Therapy, group, people like Laurel, who I've known for so long, since Voices first started, kindness, compassion. Carmen, you had adopted Hazel, my daughter, and I for Christmas one year when I was struggling, and I still have that first picture where you wrapped your arms around me and Hazel, and that's my daughter. And you gave us Christmas presents or the Sojourner Family Peace Center, when I couldn't afford it because there was a lot going on. And just, the support group, the support systems that I built, the people who heard me and believed me and didn't say you're not, they didn't say you're crazy. They said, we hear you, we believe you, you're not nuts. And just being able to go back time and time again and never have anybody say you don't belong here. In fact, they said, you do belong here, you're okay, you're safe, we believe you.
Those are powerful messages, Carrie. I think we all have a sense of drive towards wanting to belong, everybody as human beings, and especially when we're broken or hurt by those we loved or trusted. So it was an honor to be able to be with you and Hazel that way. Constance or Laurel, what would you say about resilience in your own life?
I guess for me, I have a hard time seeing myself in that light. Like people will come up to me and say, you are so strong. And I look confused because I don't feel that way. I feel like I have to do what I need to do for myself and my kids, but to be able to embrace everything, the good and the bad, has been the difficulty for me. For me, what really helped were the groups, and just like Laurel said about the love. Like, even if there were times where I was like, I'm too tired, I mentally can't do it, I don't want to go to group. Even if there were times when there were gaps when I went to group, when I came back, they still opened their arms and they welcomed me. And like Carrie said, they said, I hear you, what you went through is real and it matters. And just, you're beautiful inside and out. And just to be able to sit in a space with people that go through similar things, but they're the same in the same instance, and to be able, like you said, to feel that you're not alone. And just being able to embrace that you're not alone, and remember, even in the times when you feel like you're alone, just remember that you're not alone. There's someone else there that has been with you, been through worse or not as bad, and there's someone that you can reach out to. Because for me personally, I have an issue with communicating, I have an issue with reaching out, I have an issue with trust. So even in doing Voices, I wouldn't have even known about it or even done it if my counselor wouldn't have told me about it and told me that she felt like it would be a good fit for me to help me in those areas.
Yeah.
So
You know-
just to be able to have that for me is proving to be life-changing.
It's incredible, Constance, to hear you say, when people come to you and say you're so strong, you think, I don't feel that way. What's important to know is when we get hurt by others, that hurt and harm gets anchored in our nervous system and in our body and in our biology. And so the healing that's required is to walk through that. And you said it, you show up anyway. And you're creating a different life for yourself and your kids. And not being able to trust is a normal reaction to being hurt. So it's not just your issue. It's what happens to human beings when we get hurt by someone, especially by someone who said, I love you and I promise to love you. And to me, as survivors, you're all the embodiment of strength and bravery. Laurel, would you add anything about resilience?
I believe the resilience is how you bounce back after trials. Abuse is just one of it, financial, school, work, whatever. But it's also, resilience doesn't have to be just you doing it all. It's relying on others to help you. And that's what Sojourner has done for me. I've never had to rely on myself to just do it alone. There's always been, I remember one day that I was feeling really down and I called Julie up. She was busy, I know she was. She got on the phone with me for over an hour, just talking and uplifting me and making me realize that I can do it again.
Wow, that's what we're here for, Laurel. I'm glad that you can make that connection. Sheila, would you talk about what you see with the women and men and children that you serve? What characteristics of resilience do you see? And what are some of the resources you think about as an advocate that can help with building resilience?
So some of the characteristics I see is just what these ladies have said. I have to do what I have to do. I need to show up for my kids. And when I start hearing that, or I need to move forward, I have to work. I have to be the one that finds a place now for my children, for my life to start over. So the resources, I'm one that really refers to Hope and Healing, where they can have the support groups because they need to know that they're not by themselves. So when I hear I need to talk to a group that's like me, that's going through something, I often refer to Hope and Healing. And I ask Marlisa, am I sending too much? Because that support group is great to just relate to someone and connect to someone. Not only that, therapy is good. Talk therapy. I'm one that believes in talk therapy. I will refer for that. If you need a restraining order, those resources are available for them. For children, we have our CAC. We also have our drop-in center, child witness, wraparound for the teenagers. I also go out of Sojourner and we connect with our Silver Spring Neighborhood Center, Boys and Girls Club, anything that can occupy their mind that's positive. I work with the youth here for End Abuse Youth, promoting peace. So we have a lot of resources, Central Legal for child custody. We have a gamut of resources. So when I hear what our clients want, and I will ask them, what is it that you need from us? Versus me telling them what I think they need, What is it that you need from us? And sometimes they say, I just need someone to talk to. Can I call you? Sure, you can call me. You can call me whenever you feel the need. If you can't reach me, you can call our hotline. So yes, I even refer them to call the hotline, because sometimes you just need a non-biased voice to hear, to listen to you. So I am one that will refer all our resources utilized. If it's the DA's office, I will refer them to the Core El Centro. I will refer them to Core. So we have a lot of resources, and I tell them, you're your best advocate. Tell me what you need so we can get you there.
That's an amazing overview. I heard the question once, where does it hurt and how can I help? As being really important questions when you meet people, right? All of us are broken in some way and have things we're trying to heal from. I'm going to ask all of you to think about this question and respond, whoever wants to jump in first. What piece of advice would you give to people who are hurting right now? And how would you let them know or assure them that they are resilient as well?
I think the first thing I'd say is you made the decision to leave, or you've made the decision to get help. And this too will pass. But there is light on the other side of the trauma. And I'm a prime example that life does get better after trauma. And if I can do it, you can do it. The other thing is, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength that you are where you're at right now.
Thank you, Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say is that we're human beings and humans need humans. We can't do it alone. I don't know if that's just what I believe. When I finally, the referral for Sojourner Family Peace Center came in 2014, and Sojourner Family Peace Center, sorry, I've got some chicken noodle soup boiling over. Sojourner Family Peace Center built up a rapport with me through the advocates, through the programs, through Carmen, yourself personally, everybody, the volunteers, people who come and want to help. And Sojourner Family Peace Center is the best place within the state of Wisconsin, if not the country, to not poly-victimize people, to take a person where they're at and bring them in to safety and shelter. And maybe it's not the shelter like you're living at, you're not in the shelter, but they shelter you in place. Like, I have never come across such amazing professionals in my lifetime. And I went through a very costly divorce, hundreds of thousands of dollars, the best attorneys of the attorneys. And what I stepped into at Sojourner Family Peace Center was something I have never experienced prior. And I believe it's something I will never experience again. It's phenomenal. And the staff.
I agree with you, Carrie, about the staff. I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were you going to say about staff?
They are so in tune to not, I don't know the process of how I come around, like what happens at Sojourner Family Peace Center, but they do not harm you any further. They don't say, well, you've come from this background or that background, or you're poor, or you're rich, or you're white, or it's phenomenal. And I felt seen and heard and cared about. And I hadn't felt that in a lot of spaces and places where, you know, they might charge $450 an hour and they're professional. It's just, I've never experienced anything like this. Yeah.
So I want to agree with you. The staff who work here are incredibly passionate about the work. You know, we do some training and some support. We have some core values that we've been working on for a couple of years. We're celebrating those this week. Those are courage, integrity, diversity and inclusion, leadership and accountability, and respect. And we try to live those out in our behaviors with each other. I often say, you know, they are the hands and the heart of Sojourner herself. She's our namesake. And so it's good to hear that we've created an environment that feels welcome. You know, I say in every conversation I have, there's 3 messages that I always say, survivors, being a survivor myself, from my childhood. You're not alone. It's not your fault. And we're here to help. And I loved the way you phrased it, Sheila, you know, what do you need? So we try to tailor, because what you need, Carrie, is very different than what Constance needs and what Laurel. There's some universal needs I think we have, but we're all on our own individual journey. And we try to match your courage with respect and dignity. We also, Carrie, you also touched on something. I've had people come to me and say, you know, well, why don't you charge for services? For us, we believe this is a human rights issue. You know, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 3 says every human being has the right to live in safety and security. You can't put a dollar sign on that. That should come free to every human being, the right to live in safety and security. And that's what we're here to make happen in people's lives. So that's how we try to show up. Constance, what would you say to people who are hurting right now? What advice would you have?
I was trying to write down something to say. That no trauma is too small. You are worth the healing that you need and will receive from Sojourner. From the groups that are available and the activities that include your children is worth it. All you have to do is reach out. Don't allow the shame to stop you from reaching out. Open yourself up to heal for yourself and your children. Allow healing to embrace you. So
Wow.
just allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to let healing begin, because that's the hardest thing for me, is being vulnerable in a good way, to allow yourself to be healed, not being vulnerable to allow yourself to continue to be abused, but you also have to be vulnerable enough to allow someone to help you that will allow the healing process to begin.
That's beautiful, Constance. Thank you so much. Sheila, do you have advice for somebody who's hurting right now?
I always try to tell my clients, we're here for you. Sojourner cares about you, and District 4 cares about you. And the reason why I include law enforcement is because they're the first people that they will come in contact with. And I try to talk to the officers, and they are victim-centered, trauma-informed when they're dealing with DV at District 4. And I let them know, we together care about you. But whatever you tell me is confidential, and we're here to help you. What you need, let us help you. And I'm a firm believer, and I've heard Carmen say so many times, and I believe the exact same thing. We do no harm. We don't harm our clients. And I'm not trying to harm, so I'm trying to help. What you need, just let me know. I'll try my hardest to find the resources for you.
That's beautiful, Sheila. I think, you know, if everybody just did that simple thing, don't cause any harm, the world would be a different place. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. Animals, nothing. I don't step on any ants, any bugs. I went outside yesterday and there was this little bird out behind the building. I think it was hurt. I was trying to catch it to take it to the hospital. And I'm like, oh man, I got meetings this afternoon. But the point is for me, I believe so passionately in the dignity of human beings. I don't want to hurt anybody or anything, right? Once you understand what it feels like to be hurt and what that does to the human spirit, I think you want to connect to making the world different for other people. And would you say that you're doing that through Voices? What are you looking forward to in the Voices work that you're going to be embarking on or continue to do? Yeah.
I think we're doing a lot of Voices in different areas. Our public policy committee is working at the legislative level to make some changes. And we're doing a lot more presentations and trying to educate the public about what domestic violence is and what it isn't. And just trying to get the word out there about sharing our stories and letting people realize that we are human beings.
Yeah. Well, this is a powerful conversation. I think this is an example of how the world changes. You know, some survivor may be watching this conversation and hearing your words and take some courage and some strength from it. I also wanted to ask, besides Sojourner, what else in life was helpful for you? Like, were there other things? Where did you find strength besides Sojourner as you were trying to figure out how to navigate what had happened to you or coming to awareness about what was happening? Were there other places in the world that you found?
For me, it was my church family. Like I said, at the end of my relationship, we had actually joined the church together. And after we got divorced, I ended up staying. And I know that in combination with that and Sojourner, there is no way that I would have made it past that, or there's no way that I would continue to be working towards complete healing without the combination of the two for me. Just having a support system on different sides is what has been detrimental for me and my kids. And me learning to allow people to help me and learning that people do love you genuinely, unconditionally, honestly, without having some kind of ulterior motive behind it or manipulation plot behind it, that people do truly care and truly want to help you and truly want to see you do better. For me, that's what it was.
Thank you, Constance.
Constance, I believe what you just said was so eloquently said and wonderful. I believe for me, I've come across employers. I sometimes juggle 3 jobs at a time that believe in me. Friendships, relationships outside of Sojourner Family Peace Center. Last year, I was very thankful to be able to do this interview with Carmen Pitre. And at the time, I felt like I wasn't supported by community members. And there were a couple of people, and that is a couple of people are 100 people in my opinion. A couple of community members where I live actually helped me phenomenally. I would say my daughter's school district. And also just within myself, feeling like there has to be something different, like just listening to my internal dialogue and my internal language and just feeling like this isn't right. And I'm not sure why. And I'm just going to keep seeking more information and moving forward. friendships. There wasn't a church community,
Mm.
and not saying that there couldn't be.
Yeah. The reason that I asked this question, Laurel, do you want to add anything? And then I'll kind of tie it together and tell you why I asked that.
Well, I was looking forward to this question. I am very thankful for a lot of people. And if you'll bear with me while I list all the people.
Mhm.
Carmen Pitre, first of all, for caring enough to know my name, truly asking how I was every time I saw her. Rachel, Marilisa, and Julie for being there, even when it wasn't, if it didn't involve voices. Dr. Deborah Brennigan from the Old Untold Stories. And that's how I began my writing and my talking. Rachel Monaco Wilcox for Lotus Legal Clinic. Brianna Jo Spiel for the Rise and Thrive, which is the art form of the Untold Stories. Megan McGee and Elizabeth Dorothea for Ex Fabula.
Mm.
They got my first speaking. Maureen McGinney for Professional Dimensions, who encouraged me to write my story. John from the Lullaby Project, who wrote a song for me. Trish and Amy from the Healing Center that helped encourage me to heal. Maureen from Improv. Marie Kingsbury from Scholarship Sponsor at Women's Resource Center in Waukesha. Tammy Hartley Simmons and Doris Buffet from the Sunshine Lady Foundation Women's Independent Scholarship Program. Sister Evelyn Linz and Cheryl Buckley from Bethany Apartments in Racine, that my first encounter with domestic violence help. Casey Gwen and Gail Strike from Alliance for Hope International, who's encouraged me to share my story and keep going. Nancy Stone from Jewish Family Services, who was my counselor for a number of years. Jen from Cora Centro, who helped release that pressure. And my family and friends, and especially my husband, Craig, who's given me the confidence that there are good men in this world.
Mm. Well, you were ready for that question. That's beautiful.
I
That
was.
was
Yes.
amazing. Yay.
Yes. You
I was
know,
not ready.
well, gratitude is such an important thing, Laurel. The reason I asked that question is I was writing down I have little circles on my piece of paper. Many people in the world are like, well, what can I do? Well, what you can do if you belong to a church is you can be educated about the issue. You can offer some love and care and dignity and respect to people right there in your congregation. You can open a door for a survivor. I guarantee you there's a survivor sitting in the pew waiting desperately for someone to say something. You know, other nonprofits, the value that they play, the services they provide, civic groups, right? The scholarships, practitioners, doctors, nurses, Reiki, massage therapists. We all have the opportunity to open a door. Survivors are so isolated, as you know, from your own experience, and we're desperate for someone to open a door for us. Employers, friendships, people who work in schools. There is no human being alive who doesn't have the opportunity to make a difference in somebody's life. And you know, I could have talked about the coordinated community response, and the reality is Sojourner's not going to solve this problem on our own. We need people in every sector. What was so beautiful about your responses is you painted a full picture of a vibrant community and all the areas that we live our lives, right? And just imagine if every survivor in every area that you described had somebody open a door for them. That's the power that people have in their hands. Just by and I say to people, you know, you don't need to be an expert. You just need to know about the resources, know about the issue, and then build a bridge to Sojourner or another program here in Milwaukee, right? That's to me what opening the door is about. So thank you for doing that. You did it so beautifully. Sheila, I don't know if you have anything to add to, all of the ways that people in our community can make a difference.
So one of my expertise is collaboration. So I believe in exactly what Carmen said, and all of you. It takes everyone, partnership and collaboration. I don't have to be an expert. I just need to know who is an expert or who can connect to an expert. And that's what I do. I try to meet people in different organizations because I'm always thinking about the clients that I serve and that maybe someone may need this connection. So it is about just connecting with other people.
Thank you, Sheila. We have we have a few minutes left, and I want to end with this question. I often talk, I was not an adult survivor. I was a kid who was abused as a child. And I remember laying in bed and just knowing that life wasn't supposed to be this way, full of pain, not knowing what to do. And the adults were struggling. What are your dreams? You all talked about your kids. What are your dreams for your children? I want to end on that note. What kind of world do you want to build for your children? What are your hopes and dreams for them?
I guess for me, even in regards to the last comment that you were saying about just the community being able to be the voice, I work in the school, and I swear to you that people come up to me and I'll be sitting there like, Lord, how in the world am I going to help them? And I can't help myself. But there are so many parents that'll come in and just tell me everything. And I remember saying that to a parent, suggesting that they call Sojourner, and just being able to get past that shame to be able to be that voice. And I want my kids to be that way. Like Laurel said, myself and my children were able to do the Lullaby Project and H2O. And it was an awesome experience to be able to do that. And I want my children to know that they are loved, that they don't have to take anything from people that they don't want to take, that they are strong, that they are beautiful, intelligent, to know their worth and know who they are. And in response to that, then they can prevent themselves prayerfully to be able to recognize the red flags that will come up, and to be able to be like, oh no, I remember mom saying this, or I remember somebody at Sojourner telling me this, or Camp Hope that I went to, they told me the strategies that I could use to take to protect and better myself. And I just, that's I think what I want for my kids, to be able to be sound and secure in who they are, and be able to help somebody else at the same time that may be hurting, and to realize it and be able to say, like Laura said, I made it through this, you can too. Here are the steps that I took to be able to get through it.
Beautiful, Constance, beautiful. Anything to add, Carrie or Laurel or Sheila?
I do. For my daughter, it would be breaking the cycle of violence. And that encompasses a lot for me. But just, not just, but to have her own narrative in life, and it's not surviving, but it's thriving.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Carrie. Laurel?
Well, my kids are all older, so I've seen what my kids have gone through, and I've seen what they have accomplished and what they can do. And it was seeing them ask for help, outside of being a child and just being given the help. Now they're asking for help. They're seeking therapy, and they're trying to go towards good relationships. And I can't be more proud of my kids than I am today, because they have survived and they are thriving.
Thank you, Laurel. Any last words, Sheila?
I want a community where peace is possible. And so that's what I work towards. And I tell my family and everyone deserves peace in their own home. So, you have to do the things to make peace possible. So I'm a big advocate for peace.
Thank you, Sheila. So I'm going to end by mirroring back your own words. May our children and may we know that we're loved, that we're strong. May we know our own worth. May we always be able to recognize the red flags or when we're in trouble. May we and our children rest and be sound and secure in their own sovereignty. May they always strive, and may we always strive to help someone else. May they be cycle breakers, and may they have their own narrative. May they be the writers of their own narrative. May they always, and may we always know how to ask for help. May we and they go towards good relationships. May they know that peace is possible, and may they have, and may we have peace in our own homes. Thank
I
you.
need
for
a copy of that one.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
I wrote it down as you were all speaking. I was like, that sounds like a prayer to me.
It
You're
does.
powerful, powerful women. Thank you so much for the honor of being able to be part of your lives. Sheila, to work with you. Thank you.